Hello, in this video I'm going to show you how you can source and buy the right components for your DIY MIDI controllers. So let's get started. So welcome to the Nerd Musician, my name is Gustavo and here I mostly teach you how to build your dream MIDI controllers using the Arduino platform. And one question that I get a lot is how do I find components for my MIDI controller, because there are infinite options that you can use in your project. From potentiometers, encoders, sensors, buttons, each of them has many different kinds and models. So how do you find the right ones? How do you choose? Where do you find? How do you find them? So I decided to make this video because, one, you guys ask me this a lot. And second, I am developing a MIDI controller called Traktorino, a DIY MIDI controller for DJs. Maybe you already know this controller because I released it a couple years ago. I sold several kits, it became very popular in the DIY community, but I sadly stopped doing. It was a lot of work for me to deal with courses and selling MIDI controllers, but that's about to change. I'm developing the new version of the Traktorino and I'm going to Kickstarter. I'm planning to make a great MIDI controller with your feedback so we can have an open source, low cost DIY MIDI controller for DJs and to whoever wants to play with it. And I got into that point. Which components do I choose for my Traktorino? First, I decided to do something different this time. In this new version, most of the components will be SMT, surface mount components. Those are very tiny components that can be soldered by the company. This way, most of the Traktorino you won't need to solder yourself. You only need to solder the THT components or the through-hole components. So I had to choose the different parts for the THT and the SMT components. And today I'm gonna show you how I did it. It can be a little overwhelming, but with some practice, you make it in no time. So the first thing I suggest you to do is preparing a Google Sheet. So today we are gonna do something like this. I have which kind of components I want, the different brands, the part number, which we're gonna talk about, LCSC part, and other things that we're gonna talk in this video. And the links so we can find it easily later. So next, where should you buy your parts? I suggest first to look at AliExpress. You all know it. Here you'll find most of components, but more basic parts. Also, I suggest SparkFun. This is tailored for electronic components and you also find the most common parts. Also Adafruit, also similar to SparkFun. But the magic happens in these websites: Mouser, DigiKey, and LCSC. But before we go to those shops, let's talk about components. What are the main differences between those components? And FYI, this is part of my DIY MIDI controller workshop. This is slides that I'm going to show you, which is a free 1-hour course where I'll teach you how to build your first MIDI controller, all the basics. So if you haven't watched that, please do it. It's gonna clear up a lot of your doubts about DIY MIDI controllers. Link here below. So okay, we'll be talking here about the inputs, the types of components that we use to interact with the Arduinos. They can be, for example, on-off switches, the kind of switch that only have two states, on or off, like buttons and toggle switches. We'll also be talking about knobs, how people usually talk, like rotary potentiometers, which are those finite knobs that have a beginning and an end, slide potentiometers, and rotary encoders, which are those endless potentiometers. And we also have sensors, which can be in many different styles, like distance sensors, light sensors, pressure sensors, etc. We also have outputs like LEDs and motors, but we're not going to focus on that today. Okay, so let's take a look at my Traktorino project. This is the main sheet of the schematic. Here I have my Arduino Pro Micro, but the meat of the circuit is here. Here I have potentiometers, buttons, one rotary encoder. I have multiplexers, so these multiplexers will allow me to multiply the number of inputs of my Arduino Pro Micro, something that I teach how to do in my Making Music with Arduino course. And here I have my LED parts with bit shifters, which are for you to increase the number of outputs of your Arduino, so you can connect a lot of LEDs. And here is my PCB layout that if I press option 3, I can see how it looks in 3D. I can even look my through-hole models and my SMT models. But how I got into that? First, I had to choose which components I wanted. So here, for example, before in the first Tractorino, I was using tactile buttons, but now I am using this kind of mechanical switch, just like in keyboards, which I think that are nicer. So, okay, I have potentiometers, through-hole potentiometers, the ones that you snap in a PCB, one rotary encoder, mechanical switches. I have slide potentiometers. Those are the THT components, the through-hole, but I also have SMT components like SMT LEDs, resistors, the multiplexers, the bit shifters. And here in the back, I only have the Arduino. So the Arduino is the easiest part. You can just go to AliExpress and search for Arduino Pro Micro. But what about the other ones? What is the shaft length? What about the encoder? How many pulses it has per revolution? What about the mechanical switch? What about the SMD components? They have different sizes. How do we go about that? Okay, so first, let's search for our potentiometer. So if we go to AliExpress, we can type here potentiometer B10K, which is the kind of potentiometer I want, which is 10K ohms linear, but you see that you have different options. Let's see if we put here vertical. Putting it here vertical, you already find different options, okay? But you don't have many different options. So for that, we're gonna search in one of those three: Mouser, DigiKey, and LCSC. So what is the difference? I believe that Mouser and DigiKey are American, and LCSC is Chinese. Since my project will all the parts will come from China, the PCB, and I want the components too, because I'm gonna ship straight to China. This way I'm going to decrease my costs. I'm going to buy from LCSC. However, I think that the Mouser search engine is way better. So I like to always search first in Mouser, then I get the part number, and then I search in LCSC or in any other website. We're gonna talk about part numbers soon. Okay, so we want a potentiometer. So let's type potentiometer. So you see here that we have some categories. Let's start in the broad potentiometers categories. So we can start filtering here. So first, what is the resistance of our potentiometers? We want 10K. We want it to be linear and vertical. Let's see if there's any other filter. Here we can decide the type of shaft. Flatted D, knurled. What kind of shaft? I prefer the flatted D shaft. Then we have different options like the shaft length. You can see that now we don't have all the options anymore. Bushing size, switch type here. Do you want with a momentary switch? No switch. I'm not going to add anything here. Number of detents. You can have a potentiometer with detents, like one center detent if you are, for example, building a MIDI controller for DJs. I'm not going to choose that now, but I'm not going to put that here now. Okay, so that's good for now. So let's apply filters. Okay, so let's see what we have here. Also, I like to sort from the cheaper ones. So let's start with the first. We can see it's a Alps Alpine brand, which is known to be a good brand. So Borns, Alpha, Alps Alpine are really good brands. You can't go wrong with them. Not the other ones are bad, but those are the ones that I know are very good. So let's open this in a new tab. Here you have some information about it. Okay, so 10K, linear, vertical, flatted D, shafter diameter. It has a detent. Wow, but I don't want a detent. And what is the height? Well, it doesn't say the height. So now, for you to find something similar, for example, but without a detent, how do you do it? You can put that in the search, but I introduce you now to the world of datasheets. The datasheet is a technical document that's going to give you all the information you need about this series of components, not only about this component, but about those series. So what is the series? The series is this RK09K and RK09D. And here is how you find the one exactly with what you want. So here this MFR is the part number of the component. Each component in the world has a unique part number. This number is going to be the same in Mouser, in DigiKey, and in LCSC. So for example, I can copy here and paste here in DigiKey. If they have this part, you will find it, but if they don't, so they probably don't have it. So let's see if we have here. Yes, we do have the same part. You can see that in the picture they look different. This is just a drawing, but they are actually the same component. So it's very important for you to know how to read the datasheet to know exactly what you're getting. Okay, so let's take a look here. This is the most important part for us right now. So let's see here. So control part, operation, install height. Okay, so this is if it's vertical or horizontal. So we need vertical. So our part either will be here or here. Okay, so total angle, that's not very important. Color, which is sleeve type. That's not very important. I guess that's for you if you want to screw in the panel or not. Since we're using a PCB, that's not important. So the type of shaft, if it is flat, if it's like a knob, screwdriver, flat. So we want it to be flat. Length of the shaft can be, I don't know yet, but let's say 15. So flat we have 15 and center detent we want without. So if we want a potentiometer with a flat shaft with 15 millimeters length without center detent, we're gonna go for this part. So we can come here again and search for this specific component here. Here you can see the price, and also now we can search in LCSC. We also have it here. You can see that's way cheaper, I guess, because Alps Alpine is Asian. So, okay, let's go to our part. I'm going to type here potentiometer. The brand is Alps Alpine. So here is the part number. And I like putting here the LCSC part, which is here. I could add the Mouser part, but since I make most of my PCBs in JLC PCB, which uses parts from LCSC, I like putting the LCSC parts number here. Then I like putting some information. For example, the resistance. Here if it has detents, I put no. Push button, no. Shaft length is 15 millimeters. Travel is for slide potentiometers, doesn't have. It is flatted D. THT. Package is for SMT components. And then I put the link for LCSC, Mouser, and also I can add the price for Mouser and LCSC. You see that I have other options. Let's see if I didn't choose one that's exactly the same as the ones that I have here. So I can press Command A to select everything. Help, sort range, and data has a header, and I can sort by the component type. So if I search for my part number, it's this one. Yeah, I didn't have this in my parts. This is the only one with a 15 shaft length. Well, actually not really, but I have this Alps Electric and now this Alps Alpine with 15 millimeters shaft length. So also let's take a look here in another potentiometer. Let's now filter by Borns, which is another great brand. Okay, so let's take a look here in this series. Now we need to search here in the datasheet how we can actually find other components from this series here. So it's here that we need to learn how to find the components in this datasheet. See that here is the model, so it's the series. Then we have some numbers. We have 4, so it's horizontal or vertical. Since we want vertical, let's see if we type the number, the series, and 2 here in the Mouser search engine. So instead of 4, let's type 2. Okay, so now we have 6 options. And here, now if we learn how to use this data sheet, we can know exactly what kind of components we have here. So the next 2 numbers is the length. So let's see if they have 20 millimeters. So this is our search. So let's type this and then 20. So they don't have, let's see what they have here. So 15, 25, 25, 15, 25, 25. So they only have 25 and 15. So let's choose for this one 25. Okay, so now we have 4 options. So the next is if it's flat. Next is the shaft. We only have F, and then switch or no switch. So let's choose no switch. So let's type F and N. F hyphen N. Okay, so now we have 2 options, which is the resistance code and resistance taper. So it needs to be B in the end because B is for linear, and then let's see the resistance. So this one is B and this one is A. So this is linear and this is log. So this should be 10B. So if we did this right, we should have a potentiometer with a 25 millimeters shaft length, linear, 10K ohms. So here, 10K ohms, linear, vertical, flat D, 25, no switch, without detent. So we have another candidate for our MIDI controller. So now let's do that, which is copying the parts number and searching in LCSC. We have that. Okay, so now we have a potentiometer from Borns. Parts number is this one. LCSC parts number is 1. Also 10K, no switch, no detent, 25 millimeters, also flatted D. Here flat and flatted D is basically the same. Okay, so now our link for LCSC and our link to Mouser. Perfect. Let's sort that again. And now I added a new Borns potentiometer here. Let's take a look at the price. This is very pricey. So $385 in Mouser and $339 in LCSC. I'll definitely not choose this component because it's too expensive. Maybe this is for an industrial thing, it needs to be very, very good. But for our MIDI controller, the other ones will be good enough. We don't need a potentiometer that costs more than $3. I'm willing to pay up to $150 for a very high-end potentiometer. Okay, so now let's search for encoders. Encoders are trickier to find. So first, I type here in Mouser, encoder, and then let's come to the category encoders just to make sure we are in the right place. And let's start filtering. So some filters are a little confusing, like mounting style, cable mount, bracket mount. So when I'm confused about the filter, I just don't put anything. So mounting style, no. Product, no. Type, no. Resolution, that's something that we can choose, which is how many pulses per revolution we have. So an encoder works a little bit different from a rotary potentiometer. A potentiometer has a beginning and an end, while the encoder is infinite. You can turn it forever. So the way you can tell the position of the encoder is that when you turn clockwise, it increases the number, and when you turn counterclockwise, it decreases. And how fast it goes up or down, it depends on how many pulses it has per revolution. So one full round will give you how many pulses. So it's PPR, pulses per revolution. We can choose that. Very common ones are 20 pulses per revolution, but first let's not choose that. One thing that's very important is number of detents. If you want to detent, you have to filter here. Okay, let's put 24 pulses per revolution, which is a common one. For my Traktorino, I want you to use the encoder for you to browse your tracks. So once you turn the encoder knob, I want you to feel the click. Like at every track you change, I want you to feel the click. So tack, 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 tack. So I want you to have a tactile feel of you changing the tracks in your library. So I want detent. So usually you just choose the same number of pulses. So 24 detent. You could also choose here no detent, so no click. Also, my shaft type, I want to be deflatted or flatted, so I press Command and choose more than one. And with switch, do you want your encoder to also have a button? So you can press the encoder, so you can use it also as a button. I think that very nice and important. I want that for me, so I will choose with switch. So we also have push-pull switch and push-button switch. So it's a little confusing, so I'm going to choose all of them. I'm only not going to choose without switch. And I'm also going to filter by brand, so Borns and Alpha Taiwan, and that's it. I'm going to order by price. So let's start with this one. I'm going to copy the part number and open the data sheet. So here's how we learn about the details of this encoder. So I'm going to have here this text with the part number, so it's easier for us to see it. So, okay, PAC 16 is the model, and 4 here means that it's horizontal. So let's put that on Google just to make sure. Okay, so here you can see that horizontal has the pins here. So it will be horizontal in your PCB, and we don't want that. So we can change this So we can change this 4 to 2. So okay, so now we have less options. Then 0 is no detents, but we do want detents. So we want number 2. So let's add another 2 here. We have less options now. Now the standard shaft length. So what's going to be the length of our shaft? Let's take a look here. So after the 16, we have this 2 and 2, which means vertical and with the tents, and then the shaft length. So this one is 15, 15, 20, 20, 25, 20. Okay, so let's choose for this one 20. So it's 20 millimeters shaft, then F for the type of shaft, and switch without switch. So S for switch and N for no switch. So let's add here FS. Can add the hyphen here. Okay. We have now 2 options, and the options are how many pulses per revolution, 12 or 24. We want 24. So that's our candidate for our MIDI controller. Okay. Great, so now let's copy the part number, paste in LCSC. Okay, so here it says did not return any results. Are you referring to this? So yes, it's actually the same part. Let's see, PAC 16. Oh no, so this is 2220, and the one that they have is the 4220. So that means that they only have the horizontal part. So that's very sad, but we can put the PAC 16 here and search their rotary encoders and see which ones that they have. So you can see that all of them start with a 4, so they only have horizontal encoders from this model. So you can see it can be a little bit tedious to find your part number, but you can keep adding up to your list, and with time you're gonna have a Google Sheet that will follow you forever in your next MIDI controllers endeavors. Okay, now that you know how to choose your THT components, how do you choose your SMT, your surface mount components, like these LEDs or resistors? So SMT components, they have standard sizes. Different kinds of components will have standard package. So for example, this resistor has the same package as this LED. They have the same size, so they have the same package number. So for example, and also this kind of package here, you will have different types of components that do completely different things in the same package. I could spend a long time only talking about SMT package, but do your research. But mostly, for example, here we have a list of SMD package type for resistors and LEDs, those different numbers. The most common one, those tiny ones, which are not super tiny, is the 0603, and you can see the dimensions here. Okay, so how would you find an LED, an SMT LED, for example? So for SMT components, I search in JLC PCB/parts. JLC PCB is where I usually manufacture my PCBs, and they solder the SMT parts for you, but they have to have the part with them. So, and I think they buy from LCSC. I don't know if they're exactly the same company or cousin companies, but I search here so they can have it. So I search here so I know that you will have the part for my PCB, the exact part. So let's type here LED. Let's go to the category LED indication, discrete. Once you are in the category, you have the filters. So first thing, package. We want 0603. It can be a little bit bigger, For an LED, I wouldn't go smaller if I want to use as an LED indicator, mostly for a DJ controller. And more than this, I think the LED is too big. So 0603 should be good. So I'm gonna click here. Next, emitted color. So let's say I want, let's say red first. I'm gonna choose red here. Let's apply. We have all those different options here. And let's order by price. You can see that's very cheap. But one thing that I like doing here is choose that in stock. I want the part to be in stock. Also, I like choosing basic parts if I can, because basic parts are cheaper to assemble in the PCB than other parts. So now we only have one option. Let's open here. So that's the LED. So here in the description, we have red 0603 LED indication. So that should work for our PCB. So let's add that to our components list. So we have LED, the brand, the part number, the JOC PCB part number, which is the same as LCSC part numbers. So it doesn't matter if you find in one or in the other. Here SMT, package 0603, and the link. I'm not going to add the price here. It's very cheap. You can do the same for the resistors. And we also have standard different kinds of package for this kind of component. This is my multiplexer and this is my bit shifters. You can see that they are pretty similar and you can find many different kinds of components in the same package. We have TSOP package, SSOP, TSSOP, different ones. I suggest you to do your research to know exactly what you need. They have different sizes and different prices. Here in my PCB, I chose the TSSOP. They are quite tiny. So let's type 4067, which is the multiplexer. Let's see if we now find the category for analog switches, multiplexers. Here, let's see the package. You can see that we have many different packages. The one we want is the TSSOP 24. TSSOP 24. Let's apply. So that's our part. We're gonna have it from different brands. So remember, in stock, let's see if we have basic parts. So this is not a basic part, so it doesn't matter. Let's order by price. Okay, let's choose this one. So let's put as MUX 4067. I don't really care about the brand, but let's put here part number, JOC PCB part, which is very important. And here the package is TSSOP 24. Let's copy the link. And we are done. And let's sort our table. And here we have it. And if you'd like to have access to this list that I spent a long time doing, just click here in download file. There I'm going to ask you for your email. It's the only thing I ask you, it's completely free. But if you subscribe, I'm also going to send emails about the Tractorino launch, because I want you to help me with this project. I want to make a controller that you want, that's best for you. So is there anything else you would like to change? A different type of component, different position of the components? Oh, I don't want this kind of LED, or whatever you want. What kind of enclosure you'd like, or how much you'd like to pay. Also, please put that here in the comments below, any information about anything you'd like to say about the Tractorino or components. And if you'd like to learn how to build your MIDI controllers, even with this kind of professional printed circuit board, please check my Nerd Musician Pro course, also link here below. There I teach you how to build any kind of MIDI controller you want, even professional ones if you want to sell them, just like I'm going to do with this Tractorino. And don't forget to subscribe to this channel, please, and like this video. And if you liked this one, please check this video here. I'm sure you're going to like it too. So, see you in the next one.